Good night, everybody. This is Massaro again, your life and leadership coach. But guess what? This is 2018. I know you haven't been seeing me a lot lately, especially at the beginning of the year. I'm just gonna wait for a couple people to just start coming on and being a part of this live meeting this evening. So it's been an amazing beginning of the year. I took some time to get more in tune with what I've been called to do for this year, 2018. Last year, it was the beginning process of, being, really living in my purpose and really learning a lot more, in every way, spiritually, mentally, professionally, personally, in every way. God has really brought me to this place where I just needed to take some time for him and to listen to what he would have me do. And I don't know if you've ever heard about the Fascinating Womanhood. The Fascinating Womanhood is a pro-feminine movement that really helps women to live in their feminine power, basically. And it's so amazing what the Fascinating Womanhood did for me. The book Fascinating Womanhood. So about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I was introduced to this book. I found this book in my adopted mom's bookshelf called The Fascinating Womanhood, and I decided to read it. And lo and behold, when I read this book, it's talking to women who, who have marriages that are just, not working out. Husband and wife is fighting all the time, and there are principles in this book that really helps to women, to principles that help them basically to learn how to live with their husbands, how to relate to their husbands, whether he's doing the right thing or not. And when I read this book, it actually changed my life. I wasn't married at the time. As a matter of fact, I had just been divorced and was, a few months later, being a single divorced woman. I wanted really and truly to learn some ways to, if I have to meet someone else, which I did. I'm currently married, have a husband, and this book helped me through the years, during my dating years, to really know how to relate to a man. And it's not just a book about relationships. It's a book to help you as a woman to live in your feminine self, using your feminine power as a woman to in your daily life. And so I read this book, and it really helped me. It really, it was a preparation for me to meet my husband, basically. And, I decided just a couple months ago that I wanted to teach these principles. So I became a certified Fascinating Womanhood vintage edition. So if you know the Fascinating Womanhood, you would know the author. Her name is Helen Adeline, and now her daughter, Helen, has now passed on, and now her daughter, Dixie Forsythe, or Dixie Adeline Forsythe, she's now the president of Fascinating Womanhood. And, you know, I decided that I wanted to teach these principles. And the reason why is because of my own experience. I know my own experience where, you know, there are times where in my relationship, even in my past marriage, where my first marriage, you know, with my ex-husband, I really didn't know much how to relate to him. I didn't know how to, how should I say, I didn't know really how to, when he behaved a certain way, how do I react, right? Whatever the circumstances may be, I have the power as a woman to, you know, it's not about being quiet. It's about learning ways to help the situation to not explode. Where there is going to be some big argument over certain things, whether, you know, he's out, your husband is out for days, or every night he's going out with the guys, or he's not helping you with the kids at home. Whatever the situation might be, he's cheating on you. He's treating you as if you know, you don't deserve, you know, to be treated well. Whatever the situation might be. And I'm not talking about an abusive relationship here. I'm talking about where the man is beating you up and stuff like that. I do not condone anything of that sort for anyone. I don't believe that any woman should be in an abusive relationship or marriage. I don't believe that. I myself experienced abuse in my marriage, in my first marriage, and I didn't want it for myself. I got out, and now I'm married to an amazing man. He would never dream about doing something like that to me. A matter of fact, I am the queen in his eyes. He loves me, right? And even my mannerism as his wife, as a woman, that he loves every day. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I make mistakes. A matter of fact, I sometimes break the principles or the rules that I teach, but they help me. These things really help me as a woman to be motivated to be better as a woman, to be better as someone's wife, even as a mother, right? Teaching my daughter to live in her feminine power. So I'm going to tell you my story as to my experience being or behaving masculine. You know, I was raised in a way, I grew up in a way where I had to really fend for myself. I had to take care of myself. And a lot of that had to do with being abused, experiencing abuse as a child, even in my teenage years. And by the time I was 14 years old, I was away from my dad's home. I ran away because he was going to beat me, and I ran away and started living with extended family. But I still had to really fend for myself in terms of, you know, making sure that I'm okay mentally. You know, sometimes my family was not the richest family on my dad's side, and because of that, there were times when we had to go without. And there are times when, you know, it feels like why am I in this world kind of thing. And you build up a barrier because of where it all started. Right? It all started with being abused, and you had to leave your home and go into another home, and it was just, all I can say at this point is that I'm happy that I learned from all those situations in my life. But those situations also hardened me for a while. I became a little hardened. I became, defensive. And even if, as I grew into an adult, and it's time to date and stuff like that, and even if you meet someone that loves you or care enough for you to be with you, love you enough in spite of your faults, I would push that person away because I didn't know what real love is, number one. Number two, I thought that everybody that came in my life came to hurt me. So I would drive away everyone. I drove away everyone who came to me. And believe it or not, I wanted to be loved. I wanted to feel loved, but I didn't know how to accept it. And I would fight any person, any guy that comes into my life and try, right? And in the process, sometimes meeting the wrong person who would not, treat you in the right way. But then again, on the other hand, not knowing and being all defensive and calling myself the independent woman, right? All my life, almost my whole adulthood, calling myself the independent woman, and I don't need a man to take care of me kind of thing, as we women say at times. And I'll tell you something, when you are married, right, and you have a husband in your home, you're not independent of your husband, you're interdependent with your husband. You work together. It's not my bank account is full, and so that's all I care about. I'm gonna work and fill up my bank account, and he can stay there. That is not marriage. That is not marriage. That's not even a woman being accepting of her husband, even if he doesn't have the right attitude, right? And those are some of the things that even me as a woman had in my head after a while, is that, oh, I'm going to take care of myself, and I'm going to save money, and I'm going to do this and do that. And it was just a time where I just, in my mind, I have to take care of me. And still, the person that you're with, you're married, or, I would say you're married, living in a home with your husband, and you're saying these things. And I'll tell you something, my friends, ladies, when you have that kind of thinking, you're drawing yourself away from your husband, and he's going to slowly draw away from you, right? So these are things that I experienced. Then I got hold of Fascinating Womanhood, and it taught me the old version I read at that time. This is the new version, which is called the Fascinating Womanhood Vintage. So this is what I teach from. I'll talk to you a little bit about this after. But my experience learning the Fascinating Womanhood taught me that, number one, I have to accept, I'm to accept my husband as at face value, accepting him for who he is, not trying to change him. That's the worst thing we could ever do to our husbands. Try to change him. You have an alcoholic husband, or you have a husband who, well, when you talk about alcoholism, there's a lot of factors in that where, there's a lot of damage that can be done. And if you have to leave and have him go to do therapy, whatever the case might be, if he's abusive to you, that's a no-no. But I'm talking about a husband here who, let's say he's not helping you with the kids. He comes from work, and he just flips on the television, and he sits there all evening, watching his favorite show, watching the football game or whatever. And I'll tell you something, if he is a working man, I want you to think this way. Maybe he's tired, right? Maybe he's tired from a hard day of work and he just want to come home and rest. Just think about it that way, that he works very hard all day to prepare and provide for you and your children, the family that he have with you. And he want to make sure, you know, he's working hard for his family, and he comes home and he's tired. And I know a lot of women would not agree with me with this, whereas some husbands would come home and they would understand that, oh, my wife has been with the kids all day long. Let me give her a break, play with the kids a while she takes a break. And nothing is wrong with that. A matter of fact, I like that. When my husband comes home, my husband is away most of the time. We have an 8-year-old daughter. And yeah, sometimes she's like a baby. And when he comes home, now that I'm homeschooling her, so I'm there all day long, you know, with her books and all of that. And sometimes he comes and he take over and he helps her out, you know, if she have a problem that she needs to take care of, or in the evenings he spend time with her, or we spend time as a family, or if rebuking needs to be done, he will take over and stuff like that, right? But I'm talking about sometimes he may come home, let's say for a season, and he may just pop down there and just think about the fact that he may be tired. He's been working all day long, and you know, he just wants to, you know, take a rest, and give him that. Right? Don't argue with him, or if there's something that needs to be fixed and you find yourself been nagging him about it, my answer to you for that is no. If he don't fix it and it goes bad, he has to pay for it. His money bought it, right? So if something wrong happens and he doesn't fix it and it goes bad, it gets worse, you would have to fix it. So don't argue with your husband. Just accept him as he is. Sometimes when we're quiet and say nothing, it says a lot of things, right? And you will see the difference in your marriage. So I find that in my marriage, if there is a tensious situation, I either change the conversation, or, you know, say something, act silly, do something that make us a funny face smile or something. I mean, it's not all the time that I really get to do that, especially when you're so angry, right? But I've learned that when I am more soft in the situation, or I lower my voice and I say something, it brings the situation down. My husband, he tends to he's in a place where he can talk, right? We sit down, we talk it out, and we get the situation, we get the issue sorted out, right? If we tend to, he says something and you argue about it, and then the situation get worse, then you will see that there's nothing that's going to come out of that more than heartache. And there's some things that, as the time goes by, tonight is just an introduction of Fascinating Womanhood, that vintage, that I just wanted to present to you, so you have an idea of what I would be presenting to you. I wanted to come on every Monday night, but sometimes my husband is here on a Monday and he's traveling from the States and come here, and he's home on a Monday, and I want to spend that day with him. So I'm gonna be, I know I advertise every Monday night, but I'm gonna move it to every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, right? So that we can, you know, everything runs smoothly. So the Fascinating Womanhood is basically a pro-feminine movement that you know, I'm a part of, and I just want to help our women, our wives, young girls, and I'm going to talk to you about this now. So basically, the classes that I have for the Fascinating Womanhood is an 8-week class. And with this 8-week class, there's 8 lessons or 8 principles that we use every week. I have the classes on Zoom, online. It would be online, and for 8 weeks. And what we would be talking about basically is ways to help you, you know, throughout your marriage. If you find yourself that you're arguing with your husband, he's drawing away from you, you find yourself sometimes nagging him when he's not doing certain things at home that you feel he should be doing. Whatever the situation is, if you're at the brink of divorce, Fascinating Womanhood classes, it really helps your marriage as well, because you have a lot of power in your hands, women. I think I've been saying this for over a year, that women have so much power within them. They're filled up with power, feminine power. The greatest power that you have inside you is your feminine power. And I'm going to tell you that right now. When you use your feminine power for the good, you're going to be just fine. Okay, so this class would take 8 weeks. My upcoming class right now starts February 23rd. There's a date there as well, right next to my screen, if you can see it. So it's 8 weeks, 8 lessons. Also, what I'll be doing is a one-on-one coaching with you, because I want to work one-on-one with you to help you with your issue. Sometimes being in a group, you don't want to say everything, whereas, you know, there's some times where there's certain issues that you want to talk about in person or in private, and you know, I can help you with that, or I may be able to help you with the situation, give you some advice on, you know, how you can deal with it. Okay, and that one-on-one coaching session would be 30 minutes. So 8 weeks of classes, 8 weeks of one-on-one coaching, 1 day per week, right? And also it will be like a group. You can have it like a group, or you could do one-on-one, like a one-on-one class, right? So that's another thing. And so this class, ladies, is going to help you in your marriage, in your relationships. This is not just for marriage. This is also for the single women. If you find that, you know, you've been trying to date, and you know, you find yourself, you know, for some reason your relationships are ending abruptly, or you're going from one relationship to the next, this class is a good class for you as well. If, like I said before, the divorced woman or divorced women, if you're at the brink of divorce, or you even divorced already and you still have, let's say, you want your marriage back, right? And these principles are really going to help you to get your marriage back intact. Sometimes as women, we find out that we've been doing some wrong things in our marriages. When we learn the Fascinating Womanhood principles, we find that whoa, I've made that mistake, I've done that, oh wow, no wonder he did that, right? So ladies, I will suggest that you take this class if you want to know more about your feminine power. And every week I'll be coming on for 30 minutes to really dig deep into, you know, talk about some little topics, not topics in the class, but little things that can help you to understand what the class is all about. Okay, so I want you to think about this. Think about ways that you can really help your relationship, take your relationship to the next level. Even if you're working in corporate, I know we talk about women working in corporate or even in business, and you know we talk about business being in a man's world, and basically you have to behave like a man in that man's world. No, you don't. That's a big myth. I believe that our greatest asset in a man's world is our feminine power, and we can use it in our homes, with our husbands, with our sons, even teaching our daughters. We can learn in the society out there to teach other young women how to grow and be in their feminine power. Teach our sons basically by showing them, being an example to them in that feminine way. Show them, you as the mother, being feminine to, number one, your husband, which is your son's father, and your son as a mother. Okay, so it's amazing. If you're engaged to be married, this is a good class for you to experience or to have, learning these principles, so that when you enter into your marriage, you are equipped to go in there and know exactly, be the ideal wife, the ideal woman for your husband, the ideal woman for your man. Okay, this is what this is all about, being the ideal woman, being loving and caring and sympathetic and childlike. And these are issues that we have with, basically, as women, we feel that we're being taken advantage of when we are feminine. No, I don't believe it, unless this person really wants to prey on you. And if that's the case, if you have a man in your life that is preying on you, that wants to just mean you harm, then you shouldn't be in a relationship with that. But if it's a relationship, a marriage, where you can see some things that you have made mistakes, by, these are principles, great principles. I know that they've worked for me. They've worked for thousands of women. I'm not the only teacher. There are other teachers out there that are fascinating womanhood teachers who have experienced, like my experience, right? Who learned these principles since they were girls, young girls, and are still living these principles, are in healthy relationships, are in relationships that they can, when they see their husbands or even boyfriends behaving a certain way, they know how to handle that situation as a woman. Not trying to change him, not trying to tell him what to do, but actually accepting him at face value. Okay, I want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I will see you again next week, Tuesday, God's willing. And I hope to, the class link is right there. The event link for the class is right there. If you want to just check it out, also my website is there. Web page, that is, for Fascinating Womanhood, and all the details for the classes, everything is there. And yes, you have to pay for the class. Also for the one-on-one, the class includes also the one-on-one coaching sessions with each individual, each lady that that is in the class. If it's a group class, then we do a one-on-one session coaching, okay, for 30 minutes. Okay, so it's all explanatory there. Okay, you just look it up on my site or on my event there. The event starts February 23rd, and it's every day, every week, once a week, every week for 8 weeks. Okay, and your world is gonna be rocked with these principles because they are going to change your life. They're gonna change your life. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining me tonight. God bless you, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.